I know I've said that I've been deep in the Calvinism iceberg before, but I think I'm getting deeper. So the surface above the water is you heard a sermon clip of Vadi Bakum saying something like vipers and diapers, and you're like, oh, that's gross. Then maybe a little bit deeper, you've heard some Calvinists give some sermons, you listen to them all the way through, maybe you're reading Calvinist books. I'm not sure if reading the Institutes of the Christian Religion would be higher or lower than where I am now, but I had a friend recommend, why don't you just read the book by Guillaume Bignon? Guillaume Bignon is a French philosopher and a Calvinist, and he has one of the most praised defenses of the Calvinist system. I'm starting to realize Calvinism's a lot like chemistry. When you study chemistry in high school or even on a freshman college level, like a general class, a lot of the deeper truths are watered down. Like, oh, every atom outside of hydrogen and helium needs 8 electrons to be stable. There are exceptions to that rule because of math, because of physics, because of quantum mechanics. And not every Calvinist is going to agree with Bignon, but he uses terminology that a lot of Calvinists don't use. He says, yes, we have free will. I've met some Calvinists who say we don't have free will in any way, shape, or form. But he speaks of a compatibilist free will, and I'm starting to better understand what he means by these terms. If I've learned one thing, it's that the Calvinist can say God does desire all to be saved, but for some reason or another, he chooses not to save all people because he has a greater purpose. Now, Calvinism may not answer what that greater purpose is. They might appeal to Romans 9 to say, oh, it's to show his glory, his righteousness, and his wrath. Now, I'm free to ask the question, why doesn't God save all if he desires all to be saved? And you might not have an answer, but he might still be inconsistent in sharing these ideas, but he has produced a system where he feels that these two ideas are not inconsistent. And he compares it to the non-Calvinists. God wants all to be saved, but we have libertarian free will. He wants a loving relationship. That's why there is an epistemic distance. That's why this veil of soul making, or whatever theodicy you ascribe to. Now, a couple hours of him being interviewed and him kind of lecturing on arguments against Calvinism and answering them and different things is not enough for me to show where the inconsistencies are or anything like that. But Calvinists cannot say, hey, you're just using philosophy, you're inputting your philosophy into your interpretation, because I think we're all guilty of that. We have an interpretation, we try to defend it philosophically. Like, I don't blame Bignon for taking these things to a philosophical level and trying to be rational about or rationalize whatever he's committing to defend his interpretation or the common Calvinist interpretation. Even if he uses words like free will, God permits, God allows, God wants all to be saved, where most Calvinists aren't comfortable with that, either because they'll be misunderstood or because it makes things complicated or philosophical. I'm also cautious because there's a real danger of people misunderstanding Bignon's work and trying to apply his arguments and not succeeding and equivocating certain ideas with other ideas. I have a Reformed Baptist friend who always says, hey, you're begging the question because you believe this. And Bignon even says, you can't say someone's begging the question because they have a belief. They're begging the question if in their argument they're reasoning in a circle. And I think that at least is very important to set out there.